charms. Michigan Rose Show. Michigan Rose Show. Fun girl doing big ass grows. Red Southern Farms also got the flame. Michigan Rose grows folks. Just wanna grow something to smoke. Michigan Rose Show. Michigan Rose Show. Michigan Rose Show. Michigan Rose Show.
Welcome to the Bro Show Live. What is going on, everybody? Tonight's guest is Holt from Bloom Yellow Bottles and Organishield.
Oh yeah, thanks for joining us, Holt. I appreciate it.
Thank you guys so much for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. I love your show. It cracks me up every time I see the intro.
Thank you, Catachronic, for doing a song for us. We have a
I was
YouTube
bobbing
show
my head
with our
over
own
here the whole
music.
time, man.
Best.
I think baked with the nail gun is my favorite part. Although I forgot you had the Mohawk Spartan. That was epic.
We got the beard fire. We got the painted lady dancing on the chair. We got it all, man.
You'll never know what you'll get.
I had to pull out the hawk for fucking Ed Rosenthal. Come on now.
Oh, wow.
Right.
I don't know.
Well, thank you, Holt, for joining us. This was Porch Farmer's idea because Painted Lady has just recently kind of talked him into using Bloom Yellow bottles because she's used them for so long. And he was like, I'm going to get a hold of them and see if they want to do a show. And here we are.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Thank you guys for doing that. We really appreciate it. Interested in hearing the extension of what Painted Lady's been talking about for about a year now on the show. And the success she's had with it has been very much. So she's getting back into it after an experiment with salts and stuff. So she can preach to how she likes it better and all of those things. So we're excited to talk about it.
Yeah, actually, I'd love to hear your feedback after being on Bloom and then going to a salt metal type setup, because I started with salt metals from GH back in the way back 15, 20 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And you went to the dark side, now you come back to the light. So.
Yes. I mean, and it's more about my setup. I'm not saying that salts are bad in any way. Like, I did experiment with Jax and I did experiment with Athena, and they're good products. It just, in my setup, I was running, I run really big plants for the majority of people. They're the 6 foot plus plants, and I had them in 3 gallons and in cocoa, and it just wasn't working with the hand watering system that I tend to use. I don't have anything irrigation system working or any kind of sip pot or anything like that. I just hand water from the top, and that system with salts and cocoa and everything just, I don't know. I mean, I didn't really have very good luck with it. And I always had really good luck with running just a simple Roots Organic 707 soil through the first few weeks of veg. And then starting with the Bloom Yellow Bottles product, I saw you guys on Mr. Growit's show a long time ago, years ago. Wow. And he loved it, and his plants loved it and everything. And I know that he experiments with a bunch of different things, but he seemed to be really impressed with it. And I was like, you know what? I want to try those. And so my local grow store had them one time. And actually, Nathan was there for the Grow Green Expo, and he loaded me up with the whole thing. I went home and used them, and my mentor laughed at me and was like, okay, do your thing. And I tried them, and my plants were so happy. And I thought the flavor in the end was fantastic. My yield was still great, even though a lot of people say with organics you lose yield. I pulled 22 ounces on a lemon Jeffrey plant, 22 ounces on a lemon Jeffrey in a 5 gallon on Bloom Yellow Bottles.
That's
Beautiful.
awesome.
So,
were you just watering that in or running it to runoff?
Well, I always water to runoff.
Yep.
Just to make sure that they get really nice and soaked, and then then I don't have to water for a few days, which is nice. So I know that everybody's like, well, with cocoa you can, feed them so they get bigger and all. That's just never really been my strategy. I just don't really subscribe to it. And I just really think that the Bloom Yellow Bottles, I don't have to use a full strength the product. They just really last a long time, I think, and they stink. And that product that they are always touting with fish shit in it.
Oh, the sea fuel is the one you're thinking that smells so
well,
good.
Yeah, and the whole I started adding this. You will get into it, but I started adding the sea minerals line with the seaweed, and then sea fuel and the sea minerals, and and man, it is not good smelling stuff. Like, don't be feeding your plants when you got a weak stomach. But
true.
My plants have always really liked it in the system that I use, and I've always been impressed with it. So I appreciate you coming on to talk a little bit about it. And so I don't have to keep telling everybody about it so much.
Well, if there's any products, I mean, I'll just talk about a couple of products, and you just tell me which ones to dive deeper on, because sometimes with the Bloom stuff, the Bloom range, let's call it a range, because as you know, there's yellow bottles, there's multiple bottles. And the way I look at it is it gives a grower a lot more control. Some people want to use some of the bottles like the silica and different things, and they might use something else, that another brand they like. I'm kind of a big proponent of using everything, but like example would be like the sea fuel. The sea fuel smells. Oh my God, it's the worst smelling stuff in the world. That being is because it's cold compressed tuna. There's a tuna plant down there in Australia, because this is an Australian line, just so you guys know everything that goes into this product. It's bottled in Australia, but it all comes from either plants or the ocean. But so basically the tuna would go to waste, because I know some people worry about tuna and sustainability, and it's actually one of the sustainable types of tuna, but they get the guts and everything from that, and it's cold compressed. So that's why it's like living microbes. Jeff, who is the owner of Bloom Yellow Bottles and Agriculture Organics, the parent company in Australia, he used to say that you're buying the microbes, we give you the fluid for free, because it's all these living microbes in there that I think break it down, and that's just one of the reasons it stinks. But that's an example of one of the products of the sea minerals, because if you look at the sea minerals, it looks like this is just water. This is just water, and essentially it's desalinated deep ocean water that has a bunch of micronewts in it. It's basically your micronewts, and as you know, Karen, that it doesn't take it doesn't take much at all. as far as dosing for the sea minerals and things like that.
Yeah, barely anything of that product.
Yeah, I noticed that the dosage rates were super low on everything in the feeding rate.
Yes. If you're doing a research system, it's really low. I had a friend who she was a big house and garden person, and she'd been on house and garden for 20 years. And then if you guys remember a few years back, house and garden had a problem with their shooting powder or something that they started making in the US, and it was giving her some issues. So I said, hey, try this. And she was like a drain to waste in cocoa, but it was just, no, sorry, it was a recirculating cocoa, but it was, basically a recirc table with cocoa pots, and then she would recirculation through. She said that it actually saved her money switching to that because you should use even less on the recirc if you look at the recirculation type of feed chart versus the drain to waste. I was a drain to waste, cocoa guy, but just because I was an indoor grower. But
I'm a living soil grower.
Then you're gonna have, if you use Bloom, you're gonna have more microbes. Your microbes are gonna love it because it's just gonna feed it so well.
Yeah, so I won't have to pH or anything, right? I can just water it right in.
I'm so glad you know that. That's one of the things, because everybody gets caught up in the pH cycle and challenging with the pH. A lot of the pH ranges from 5.2 to 6.2 or whatever they'll say on the bottle. With the salt metals, called the salt metal type products, was really for absorption. That was because at this solubility level, this would uptake better by the plant's roots, and that system. So that was why the pH was the big thing. But yeah, you don't have to worry so much about pH. There's a lot of fulvic acid in a lot of the Bloom products. That's kind of the carrier transport that gets used a lot. And there's a humate too. But was there other products, Karen, that you go, I really appreciate what this product did that's a little different? Or
yes, I wanted to ask you specifically about, I really like the humates once I added that, but the other one I wanted to talk to you about was Ultra.
Yes, Ultra.
Because I had a Lime River Rose last harvest start terming on me, and it started popping some bananas, and I always remember Nathan telling me just super dose it with that Ultra and it'll kind of reverse that from happening. And I did, and I mean, I saw a couple more bananas pop here and there, but I swear it worked, and I don't understand why.
Well, I'll go into that. If you want me to, guys, I'll go into that to what Ultra has multiple applications. And if you look on the feed chart, it's used in the first couple of weeks when you flip into flower, because, first as soon as you go to 12-12 photo period, it becomes a stressor and your plant is under stress, and that's what forces in the flower. But essentially what Ultra will do is it binds to anything, like if everybody has receptors in there, we have receptors, plant receptors in there. So any type of male type receptors in the cannabis plant is going to bind to that so that it can't produce any male components. Is essentially that's the long and short of it. Now you had example with bananas. I had balls. I had pollen pods. I had fucking the nuts that dropped, and I was like, oh shit, what am I going to do? So when I dosed it with that, it literally dried up. You could see the pollen pods dry because, obviously if you're going to pull it really fast or because you're worried about the pollen exploding and then running your room. So I dosed it with that. The pollen dried up, and then everything above that went back into female flower because it just binds that up. Now it will not. Everybody's asking me, can you guarantee like a seed become female? No, it has to somewhat be a female. It just reverses the stress. There's another product people have probably heard called Switch that is supposed to reverse a harm, and it takes 2 parts and it does some burning, but it's not organic. This is an organic thing that essentially binds to anything that the male would produce, because cannabis plants are so, they're so ancient that it's they can distress into becoming the male side coming out. So it just binds that up. But another nice component of it, if you look in the literature around it, is a lot of people will do a 12-hour dark or whatever before their first flip, before they go into 12-12, they'll do a certain amount of dark time. So Bluma did some studies. I think they were doing it in Tasmania or somewhere back where there was cannabis that was legal, because Australia still has some parts that are not legal. But they did it where if you do 36 hours of dark and you have Ultra in there, then 3 days after so if you go 36 hours of dark and then you start your 12-12 photo period, within 3 days that you're supposed to be in full flower hormone. As you guys know, it takes about 6 or 7 days before you really see it start to flip and see the pistils start to come out. So that's one of the things that if you use it early on, even before you flip, you can utilize that. And it has that in some of the literature, site stuff that you can use it for.
Is that considered a PGR, or how does that work?
No, it basically it's just it's all plant enzymes. There's no PGRs in it at all. I mean, there's no, it's not the OG or any of that kind of crazy stuff. It's just, it basically has to do with the hormones in the extracted from some plants out of Australia that they copied and mimicked them, and it binds to that male part, so it can only produce female flower.
So it's, maybe this is a stretch.
That's okay.
Is it like Clone X, how we're like adding rooting hormone? Is it kind of a
no? It's not. It's not a rooting hormone. But essentially, it basically just overall increases the vigor of the plant. But it has to do with plants produce different enzymes at different stages. And if you really break down the cannabis plant, how many different stages there are, through the flower cycle is a lot. That's why every 2 weeks, even on the bloom schedule, you'll see every 2 weeks that it changes a little bit. But Karen, you probably talk about that a little, because it's not just the same thing through all of it. There's different products that you introduce, and Ultra is just really, it keeps the stress down on the plant, but it binds to the male characteristics. So if it got overstressed, it couldn't produce male. That's why you can use it later, even in flower, is just a standalone herm stopper or herm reverser. But it's really on your normal feeding schedule for the first couple of weeks during the most stressful time, and then you go into mid bloom, and you're already in full flower hormone then.
Yeah, it does seem like the plants that herm on you, they're either going to do it like in those first couple of weeks when you flip them to flower, or like week 6 when it's just like, come on.
Real late. Yeah, they'll do it real late. I think sometimes, at least I did back when I was learning to grow, 15, 20 years ago, was I think I over PK'd my stuff late in, and that's what caused the stress later in the cycles, it seems like, because we're like, oh, look at that bloom, we want to dump more stuff to make it bigger, right? And you get all excited about it.
No, turn up the lights. That sounds like a great idea.
Oh, right? yeah, exactly. Get them really hot.
I was just talking, it's funny because you said you grew with GH3 part, and that's what I started with. And in the pre-show before you came in, I was telling Painted Lady and Porch Farmer in sequence. So the first thing that I remember getting was my buddy came through and was like, oh man, you got to try. And they ended up being those Fox Farm, like the Cha-Ching, the Open Sesame, and the Beastie Blooms, right? I was like, oh man, this is, because I noticed that there was like a total lack of flavor in GH. You would grow plants and you'd get it, it would finish, but just never a flavor. So you start saying about, hitting them with those PK boosters at the end, I'm kind of cringing going, yeah, man, I did that for a couple years too, man.
Oh, I burnt my first closet grow with Cha-Ching because I saw flower and I was like, okay, if little's good, more's going to be better, right? And it burned the hell out of the flowers.
You guys 50, mentioned 60. GH. Are you guys talking about that? Did you say a 3-pack or a 6-pack? Because you remember the 6? I think it was. Okay,
well, the 6-part. You mean the box, the starting box?
Yeah, that was literally the first thing I ever used.
That had Floralicious in it, and what
like
was
the seaweed? Some sort of like dude, I can't remember any of these names.
Floralicious, and the other one was had like a yellow label. It was really
Floralicious had a lot of humate in it. It had a lot of humate in it. It was a pretty decent product. That was one of their better things that GH make, I thought, as far as a valuable product.
But everybody's chasing that flavor, and you're talking about not having to pH and stuff like that, and that kind of blows people's mind because everything will get figured out.
It balances out. Now, for people who have research systems, I had a friend that she called me. She's like, Holt, the pH keeps going up because you're draining it out of the system, and it goes back into your reservoir, and then it's on a timer to go back and refeed. And she was like, my pH keeps elevating. I said, you can dump some H2O in there if you want to lower it back down. But basically what you're experiencing is a micro bloom. So you're basically brewing more microbes to feed them back into the system for what drained out. And so she just let the pH go and had no problems from there on out. It's sort of designed from a big range of pH with the fulvic acid that is going to help the plant uptake it regardless.
Is it like stable to put in a reservoir? You know what I mean? Because I like to build a reservoir for 5 to 7 days or so, and then just kind of feed from that.
Yes. That's what I used to do. I used to have like a 50-gallon drum, and I would fill it. And I had like, it's kind of funny how we pull different components from different things. Like I had these fish tank like power heads. I'm talking about the power heads that move water. And so I would have those magnetically in the bottom of it just to keep the water moving. Now, if you're using bloom, because it's a lot of live microbes and a lot of, basically living organic components, then I recommend not to aerate your nutrient water, your reservoir water, just because, I mean, if you do, you'll see, once you mix the sweet and all the sugars in there, you're going to have micro bloom. You'll have stuff growing on top or floating. Not that it hurts your plant at all. It's just you're growing a whole lot more microbes rapidly. So if you oxygenate, then it'll do that. Just keep it mixed is the key.
What temperature though?
And room temperature seems to be fine. Room temperature 70,
like 72, something like that.
73, something like that. That's fine.
Okay. Okay. My other question.
If you get too warm, though, if you get the warmer side, then you'll have more of a bloom faster. If that's where you're kind of going down that path.
No, it's not.
Okay, sorry.
But that was a sidebar question, I guess, for sure, because it's like, all right, we're creating more microbes. Is this a bad thing? Do I need to feed less now?
It's not a bad thing.
Oh gosh. My question was, okay, so like pump. Every time I feed with you get this IPM and stuff, and you get certain organic nutrients, and it talks about not using too much pressure, really, right? So is there a pump size that's too big for a reservoir with organic nutrients in it? Do you want it like a low and slow kind of mix, or I mean, if I throw in like an 800-gallon pump, is that gonna like destroy some microbes or anything?
No, it shouldn't. It just, it depends on how thick are you trying to, what's your ppms that you're trying to, how thick are you mixing your brew, so to speak. It doesn't seem to have a pump. I used to use a sump pump and drop it and pull it out, hand water everything.
Oh, and that was
the easy one.
Yeah. So that's a lot more than just like one of these little aqua, whatever they're called, pumps that you get from the grow stores. You know what I mean? Just to,
if you're just in feed tubes, feed tubes are fine. I mean,
no, I'm just saying, like, just to keep the reservoir mixing. You
know I mean? Yeah. I just had like little power heads or whatever, just
submersible pump.
Just homogenize it.
Okay. Because I keep that thing running, 24/7. It stays the temperature of my grow room and everything, so it's the same, temperature of my root zone and all that.
Yeah.
I just, mine is pretty thick. The current one I have right now is Recharge, Mammoth P, and Bud Swell Bat Guano, and it's only 3 things, but man, those three things make it so much thicker.
No, those particular products, because you're putting like almost physical bat guano, right?
100%.
It's not broken.
It's liquefied,
down. But it's liquefied, but it's more of a slurry, probably.
It's like diarrhea, bat diarrhea.
I would worry about tubes with that kind of stuff getting clogged up. Bloom is not quite that thick. On that, it's kind of designed to be easily uptake. It's not like using raw components. That's almost like using raw manure, basically using raw components. And so you're going to have a little bit more thickness there, where blooms have been filtered through screens and things like that. So it's been meshed up a little bit better. So but it can grow. It can still grow. Your microbes can multiply what microbes are in there.
Yeah, that's one of the. I've actually been doing this for a long time. I don't use any drip emitters on my lines. I just leave an open line because, with electronic timers and things like that nowadays, it's very easy to control the amount of, nutrient solution, so to speak, that's getting into your plants. So while it's more consistent with a drip emitter, sometimes I pinch those lines off with a zip tie for a day or two. I got one plant that's a runt or something like that. So,
Gotcha.
You just kind of, again, everyone's got their own philosophy.
Sure.
Can you solve a debate for me? And this, I was going to say really quickly, but maybe this isn't a quick debate. To preface this, I've only been growing organically, with organic soils for about a year now. I've been testing things out indoors and outdoors. A lot of different water only soils. As I just mentioned, I'm not using water only all the time because I'm not always getting through that week 6.
Okay.
I hear so often out there this debate, and it's like the hash debate. I'm sorry to bring that up again, but are bottled nutrients really organic? What does that mean? You told me you're selling us the microbes and you get the the liquid for free or whatever. Explain that to me, because I hear so many people are so hardcore about like, oh, if it's not powdered, if it's not, like something I can hold in my hand without it spilling all over the floor, it's not an organic nutrient. But, like I mentioned, the first nutrient system I ever used was a bottled organic system. And I'll be honest, it worked great. Now I've grown with, the entire advanced nutrients lineup, Canna, House and Garden, like you mentioned. I grew on that for 4 years or something in cocoa.
Yeah, good stuff.
It is. It's expensive though in comparison to organics, so that's why I'm kind of diving back into this side of things. But are they organic? Can you really claim that? I mean, Enlighten me.
The way I try to look at it now, this is just my opinion, so I'm not the ganja god to tell you what's right and what's wrong, but the organics, the way I look at it is it something that's kind of a living, has its living components in there. Even if they're dormant, they're still, living things. So I kind of look at it from that aspect. So just because it's in a bottle doesn't mean it's not necessarily living. But if you go to like Northern Cali up in the Triangle area, all those guys are all about their teas, and they make their own. Those are living things.
Vortex brewers and shit. Those are so cool.
Oh yeah. I mean, they're getting emu poop and making their own teas, and that's all they're about. Which is which is great. That stuff is awesome. But for the average grower, if you can get something like that in a bottle, then you want it. I mean, there's the fish shit that you can buy in a bottle that I don't know if it's been processed or whatever. I know with the Bloom, they try to keep the things as raw as possible. They're not, what do you call it when you heat it up, like pasteurized. They're not pasteurized type products or anything, so that they've been heated or temperatured. They're living components. But like even your bat guano, that's got living stuff inside it. But if you think of yourself like on an indoor grow, when I used to grow indoors, I would use cocoa. If I'm growing outdoors, I'm going to use living soils. And just in my head, I was like, if I bring living soils with microbes and bugs and everything else, I'm bringing that inside. And if I have an indoor grow, I want to control the environment. I want to control everything I can control. So I control the temperature, the heat, and the environment, and the grow substrate. So that's why I went with cocoa, just because it was something I control. And then the inputs I had 100% control of. Because if I'm using, Bloom organic stuff, I'm using only those amendments, so I know everything that goes in it. If I'm growing outside, I just do everything I can to take the best care of the plant, because I can't control the weather. And so it's just kind of different mentality. And then when you get in the commercial areas, these bigger size grows, it becomes a budget. What are you going to do? What style are you going to go after? And what's the most cost effective? There's a lot of guys these big commercial grows are still using rock wool, and rock wool is a great substrate. It just depends on your style of system that you like to do. So it's kind of like there's a menu, and you don't have to have
right. We call it our growing philosophy. Like everyone has their own philosophy.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean yours is better than someone else's. It doesn't mean it's going to work for everybody. You know what I mean? But if you find what works for you and provides you that success you're looking for, then great. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be salts. It doesn't have to be organics. It doesn't have to be indoor or outdoor or
That's
anything.
the keys, man.
Exactly. Whatever works best for you and your setup. I mean, when you build a grow room, or I had a 2-car garage, I turned into a grow room with like a little 12 light sunlight back in the day with the HPS and the air cooled crap. And so I had to dial the room in. Once you do it, then you go, okay, what's going to work in this environment too? It might even be your style of grow. It might be your environment. You might have, something with low headroom. So you've got to do, different things. So it's really what works for you. And then do you get your expected results? This is what I did. This is what my desired outcome. Did I get a win on this, or how do I make it better? That's kind of, I've always been of like, oh, I've had some really great grows. Then I'm like, okay, that's awesome. 12 lights into 18 pounds. Okay. How do I get better next time? It's always that quest of you can, real growers get excited about, my favorite days were the days we took down. And that was my saddest day, because I'm like, all this work, and everything. And then the house would smell good because we had everything hanging and drying. And, and then you look at it, you're like, all this work. And then people just set my stuff on fire. But at least they smiled after they burn it, right?
That is I never thought about it that way. They just set it on fire.
All that, you've got 12, 18 weeks of work, whatever, into it, and
smoke, man.
Set your shit on fire.
It's always bittersweet for me cutting them down too, for sure.
Yeah,
Very much. I always have a little talk with my girls every time I tell them how beautiful they were, and that they were good girls, and now they get to go to the retirement home.
You know what it is, man? I worked for a humane society for years, and I used to basically I would get attached to these dogs,
Oh yeah.
And so it was always bittersweet when they would leave, but I always knew that there was another kennel that's opening, and I know that there's another dog that needs a chance. And a lot of times there's something that's sitting in our veg that maybe the first time through, or like we've got it on that third time and it's money, and you're just like, man, I can't wait to flip this fucker to flower, man. Let's get this room cleaned and let's just rock this thing out.
Yep. See, I used to hate cutting them down, man, because they were so beautiful. Now I slip in like a ninja and slit their throat.
Oh yeah. And they
So
smell
the darkness, man.
It's crazy how they smell. They always smell so good, and then like you smell them when they're in flower, and then you cut them, and then you cure them, and then like the profile changes.
Yeah.
Dude, why do you think I'm so focused on live resin? Because I want to capture that what I just did on this plant
now.
for 6
I don't
months.
want
you know
what I
mean?
got 2 months from now.
Yeah.
I want what it was when I cut it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard to deal with that sometimes, but yeah, it is
So
what it is.
I've got another kind of newbie question for you guys, and it's all you guys at the top here above me, because Painted Lady and Porch Farmer, I think you guys brought this up early about, well, drain to waste, right, with cocoa, but watering to runoff with organic soil. I was always in okay, put it this way, simplest way I could put it. On one of the bags of soil I purchased recently, it said, "Do not overwater," and that means do not water, like have runoff. And I think their idea was you're probably washing out some nutrients of our soil, right? Like that's where my mind goes, coming from the cocoa and salt side of things. Is that what they're talking about? I'm a little, again, trying to take on the concept of water only, which I'm not to this day doing right now, but is that why they're saying it? Is because they're really trying to go with water only and they're trying to not run off nutrients? Was there something else?
It can be, mainly that, and you don't like it could be the aeration. If it's not too much aeration in the soil, it could just get like
definitely has a lot
get
less
real
perlite
thick.
than the other water only soils I've bought.
Yeah, you really don't want to wash out all your shit. So I don't water that much. I don't get any runoff.
So I do just to know that it's fully saturated. And as soon as I see a trickle, then I let it go. But
are you guys gently watering? Because I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I walk in there with like a 3-liter pitcher, and I'm just like, all right, like, enjoy your water. You know what I mean? And sometimes if there's like, you'll get those channels or like on the edge of the pot or whatever, you'll start seeing it come out the side, and you're like, I'm an idiot. There goes like $2 or whatever, especially if you're growing in salts. But that was just a concern of mine. So I'm curious,
I don't get that with the organic soil, those pockets, because that's why I like to water it so it's completely heavy, and then I don't have to water it again for like another few days, usually 2 to 3 more days until it's light again. And that just seems to work best for me. I always have it up on a riser, and then obviously with a saucer, so there's not ever sitting in that anymore. I did that one run just to see. I don't even remember what I was doing that run, but my whole point about using Bloom is I've run the gamut too. Skilbo, I think I started with, I don't know. I think it was Fox Farm, and then GH, and then I was like, I'm going to use. I heard Advanced is the best.
Yeah, man.
So
before you Pete, ladies. So when you're growing in, what size pots are you growing in right now with these Bloom yellow bottles?
Well, everything in veg is in Bloom right now.
So when you ran it before, were you finding that you, like when you pulled the plant out, you were getting roots all the way around? Like, because one thing about organic growing is sometimes when you pull them out, depends on how big your pot is how much you're going to see that edge of the watering thing. You're talking about, like we've all done what Fagroli has, where you're running late on time. You're like, oh shit, the lights are going to turn off. I got to get in here and water, or, I got to go to work. And you do dump that shit on there every once in a while, and maybe you are oversaturated, and then everything's just, slashing down the sides of the bucket on you.
Yeah. I mean, it's everybody has a different style with all that, but I tend to try to not overwater. Obviously, I don't want it like building up to a half an inch in the bottom of the saucer. I just want to make sure I did it all the way so that it's all the way good down the. And I don't ever have a problem with. I always make sure I wait until those roots are all the way down and at the bottom of the pot before I pot up. And I've never had a problem. And I just keep going back to Bloom. Like I've run all of it, Advanced, everything, Roots Organics, even the powder stuff. I've did my own Coots mix, and I know you guys, that'll take like a couple more times and stuff for it to build up, and I do want to do that someday. But for my system, like we were talking about, everybody has a different thing that works for them and their environment, and the Bloom on top of the organic soil, the Root 707 that I can just get at my local, one owner store, no franchise, little local grow store. Shout out to Capital City growers.
Well, it's that partnership. You know what I mean? The partnership between you and the plant, the partnership between you and the nutrient, the partnership between the medium that you're using and what you're trying to do to fucking make sure you fertigate it properly.
Yep.
and it's just about finding a balance that works for you. And because one of these ways will work for you, even if you guys have bad luck with the first 2 different ways that you try to grow this plant, man, there's so many other ways. Just keep trying something different until you find the way that works for you at that moment.
Karen, is there any of the Bloom line that you're like, I don't really use this product and maybe I'm missing something like pre or anything like that? Or is there any of those nuanced ones?
I used to use pre, and I don't tend to use that so much anymore. I pretty much stick to just, I really like just one thing I'd like to talk about is Porch Farmer got the Euro.
Yeah,
and I have just like the Grow A and B and the flower.
You got the Euro A and B, and then you've got the Grow and the flower both, right? Mm-hmm. Essentially, the Euro is something that's like, because this is also sold in Europe and the UK and some other places. And essentially, if you use the Euro A and B, then you'll use those from veg all the way through.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, so that's kind of what it's like. Instead of having to use a Grow and then a flower, and I forgot the ratio. They're basically the same components. I think. I want to say the Euro is probably 40 to 60% going to be what flower would be or something like that. It's just a different mix of the base.
Okay.
See, they tailored me up for an auto flower grow.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, definitely. I think it'd be great for an auto flower.
Yep.
Because in Europe they do a lot of auto flower in Netherlands, right? There's a lot of those auto flowers over there. They do.
Yeah.
That Cannon House and Gardens and where all those nutrient guys are at, right?
Yeah, they do a lot of stuff over there. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting how like there's a big lot of lines that they're in the U.S. now, but they all came out of Netherlands, and then a lot of these came out of Australia because Psycho is an Australian line, and Psycho used to buy. My understanding is those guys who created Psycho used to buy from Bloom, what's now Bloom, but back in the day.
What I heard is there was Canna and House and Garden. I think it was 2 guys in a House and Garden, and one of them split off and did his own thing at Canna. Is that how that works?
Something like that. I think that's the history. Something crazy.
Yeah, I don't know. Just crazy business dealings and science.
Yeah.
But yeah, I pretty much I really like the base newts. I like the silica too. Yep. And I like the humate.
Yep.
And the sea minerals line for sure. And of course, Cal. Everything needs Cal. So.
Yeah, CalMag's kind of CalMag for a lot of things. I think the silica is kind of unique. As you know, Karen, it's like a freaking plasma. It's so thick, but it's more powerful. What's the big brand out there now? Power Psi or something like that.
Power Psi.
Yeah, and it's super expensive. I would put Blooms up to this any day. It's just something I never really promoted so much, but I believe it's like 53% monosilic. Those are
2 different kinds of acids, though, aren't they?
Yeah, it's got 2 different kinds of silica in it.
Potassium silicate.
Yeah, and monosilica. Yeah,
monosilic acid.
Yep. But the big, I remember the mistakes I made in the beginning with that. Though, was you've got to add your silica to your clear reservoir first. Before you put your nutrients and then pH down. Otherwise, you're going to bind up stuff.
Yeah, but the potassium becomes unusable.
Yeah, exactly. But the Bloom silica is hard. For the money, I don't know anything as good as that is. It's really inexpensive. It's super thick. It doesn't take a whole lot.
Did you say 53% silicon?
53.2.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, 53.2% is what I've seen.
Gotcha.
That is insanity because I'm looking at the one I use. I don't even want to say it.
It's like,
just tell us the numbers.
What are you using?
Oh, I'll share it.
What's the number?
All right.
I'll just share
this is a learning channel.
Yeah, I know.
I gotta get some actually, Holt. I gotta get some more silica. I ran out, so my local grocery store sold me the
3%
Power Psi.
Oh, did they? Yeah. Well, it's also something about with this. I'm not sure what makes it different, but it's something the bioavailability. As you know, if the plant can't uptake it, then it doesn't really matter what's in it. If your plant, you can't get the good stuff in the plant. So
for girls, get them hydrogen peroxide
That's
numbers.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yep, and always add it first.
See, I got the silica, but I didn't get the humate. I think you would need the humate for the silica.
I love the humate. Once I added the humate,
recharge.
Yeah, I really noticed a difference in everything, in yield and every flavor.
Well, that's really going to help break everything down that you're putting in is those humates and fulvic acids.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and if you spill that humic on you, you're stained for life because you know that stuff.
Yeah, the floor. Yeah, it's like
Death to
it's
you.
messy, man. It's like recharge.
Yeah.
Recharge is a stainer too. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I've got a wooden step with a giant ring from a bottle of humic. I just
Got
it's never going away.
But the only reason I asked about the pre was that some people really like the pre if they have headspace issues. And guys, so if you're not familiar with what the pre is, it's something you usually use during your veg stage. But you know how you have plants that stretch, especially as soon as you flip them into 12-12, they like I used to grow this Cali Dream that because anything with a haze derivative seems to really stretch a lot. And so some people have headspace issues. So what pre is something that you can add, and it's also another plant enzyme, or it's derived from a plant enzyme that is a gibberellin binder. So gibberellin is the enhancer. It won't say, I don't think it says on the packaging anywhere, but gibberellin is an enhancer, or is the hormone that the plant makes it stretch and get taller. So what pre will do is it will just bind to the gibberellin site as long as you add it. 3 days after you add it, it's out of the system and your plant goes back to normal. But what that really does for you is it stops your vertical growth, increases your horizontal growth. So the plant will grow out, not so much up. But the crazy thing is about, especially plants that have a lot of stretch between their internode spacings, it really tightens up the internodes and makes them very, very consistent. But so people who do like a lot of sea of greens and things that have, they're trying to keep everything consistent height, it's really good for that. That's just real.
Can I just shout out your packaging real quick? It took me
Sure.
a second to realize it, and I don't know if Sequence can pull it back up, but I love the 4 icons at the bottom that denotes rooting, vegetative, maybe start a flower and then
structure,
bloom. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. That's very easy, and obviously some of the names are very aligned with that too.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ran this like full lineup and then got it, done like the full heavy metal testing and all that kind of stuff?
There's nothing. It's all either from the ocean or from other plants enzymes. So there's nothing heavy metals or anything that shows up in it. We had to go through that a couple of states where like California was a kind of a pain in the butt.
Mercury.
Michigan's probably the worst, honestly, I think.
Is it?
Yeah. From what I hear anyway.
I think I've used every single product on there. And Roots is one of my favorites. I use that.
Roots is crazy. I always have to dose down on Roots because even though it has you using it kind of later in your flower cycle than you normally would think with most things, because it always has fresh roots seeking new more nutrients. But that Roots is kind of nuts.
Yeah, I do like Roots a lot, and that seems to make a difference when I use that.
For something now, I may get this wrong, but when I talked to the owner about Roots, and I was like, well, there's different triggers because usually most of them are auxins, or if you look at all the clone dips, that you dip your cutting into before you do it, you can basically make a solution of Roots and just soak, take your cuttings and to make your clones and soak them in that before you plant them. But I may get this wrong, but sort of the way he described it to me, he goes, if your plant had root rot, what's the way that your plant would overcome that? And it would create a bunch of fresh new roots. And so without telling me, I think he was sort of telling me that basically roots kind of from an enzyme standpoint makes your plant kind of think that it might have root rot. So it just makes it shoot crazier new roots out. But it definitely will, as you know, you'll get root bound if you use too much of it.
Just a sour response of some sort.
Yeah, it's
my Root Riot cubes in it. So like a solution of and I only use like a couple drops of Roots.
Yeah, I
soak my Root Riot cubes in it, and then when I do clones, and I always end up with really nice roots that way.
That's a great tip. I like that a lot.
Yeah,
that seems to help. I don't know. I really like that product a lot.
So it's not a hormone. It doesn't have any hormones in it. That's what makes it a little bit different too. It's just more like a trigger, I think, for to produce roots.
I have a burning question for you, Holt.
Okay.
Skill ball.
Sorry, I don't have one to burn and pass it back to you.
We know it starts with a T. It's always about the terpenes, man. Always.
I see a lot of bottles, man, and a lot of different products, and it's starting to give me flashbacks to trying to use those 32 different bottles of advanced nutrients. Now, I know that you don't need to use all of those.
You don't have to, no.
And the ability to dial in your grow is very helpful, especially with the access right to those different lineup, the whole lineup you have.
Of course.
What is the one thing that you guys have on the shelf that's
Mhm.
going to help me produce more terpenes? Me as a fresh frozen hydrocarbon based
Got it.
processor, the only thing I'm worried about is terpenes because the profile of every strain is
Mhm.
different.
Yep.
THC value might be different on every strain, but
Sure.
THC is THC. The
Exactly.
terpene profile you get is really what matters to me,
Mhm.
and I want to know how to get that 4 or 5% mark. What
Sure.
do you got?
I'm glad you brought that up, and I appreciate that too, because what I've noticed now in the last 5 or 6 years with the industry getting more commercialized, I don't like that much dispensary weed anymore. It may have like 33% THC or whatever, but it all smells like hash. It doesn't have the robustness that that you like, or that I remember the good old days of the good sour diesels and the Durban poisons. And you're like, oh man, I just want to breathe this in for days. I don't even want to smoke it. I just want to
just dry hit this all day.
Yeah, exactly.
Delicious.
Exactly. So I would say that there's a synergist, just like with THC and CBDs, and there's a synergistic effect. I would say it's a synergistic effect, but if there was one product that I really wanted to bring those things out in, would be ooze. Penny Lady, I'm sure you like ooze a lot.
Yes, sir. Yeah, that's
that
exactly the one I was going to recommend too for Growly is
ooze.
I was
What is
hoping
the
that I
sign
had
from
whichever one you were gonna say, and I do. I'm really glad.
Good. Now, ooze is it has a lot of different things in it, but it really affects the resins and the terps and everything to come out. Something I don't know if you guys have ever, does anybody ever super crop or do breakage and snap?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
all the time.
I'm abusive.
So yeah, exactly. So if you think about that, part of that idea behind that is to trigger the plant to go, hey, I'm getting attacked. So what is a defense mechanism is to produce more resins and to heal itself up. I mean, if you've ever seen a plant, we had one that we broke once, and then it was a hole you could see through that, and then it knuckled up and healed up, and then the above part just shot up and had the biggest cola I've ever seen. So it's sort of a putting your plants in a defense mechanism. Now ooze doesn't trigger your plant to go in defense mechanism, but it gives it all those components that it needs to produce more terpenes that is protective.
Is it sulfur based? Because that's what I keep hearing.
As far as ooze knows, I don't think it has. No, it might have minute, like micro sulfur in it, but it's not like a sulfur trigger. It's something from another plant that they discovered and copied the enzymes out of it.
Okay.
To give it that reaction. Now, have you guys ever heard of jasmonic acid?
No, but
jasmonic that's nothing to do with the bloom stuff. This is just a kind of a side note. Jasmonic acid is sort of when you injure the plant, there's a trigger, and it's in jasmine plant, obviously, but it's sort of the auxins are what carries the trigger back and saying, hey, I need to heal you back up. That's jasmonic acid response. And if you actually had jasmonic or acetate or jasmonic and sprayed your plant like in week 5 or week 6, it would make the plant go, oh, it's just like you did a bunch of breaks on it, like you did super cropping on it. It would make the plant think that because it sends the trigger, but it doesn't. You don't have to break it to do it. It sends more resins and goos to the plant. So jasmonic acid is one of those things. Or I've heard people taking sagebrush and growing that around it, and then breaking the sagebrush up because it triggers. Plants talk to each other with the hormones in the air, so you can break one plant and the same plant in the room recognizes it in the same. It has a reaction to it. So that's just one of those little side notes to look into. Sometimes jasmonic acid's a big enhancer of terpenes.
Well, that's awesome. Fergoli, did that answer your question?
Sorry, I went down a rabbit hole with you. I'm sorry.
No,
give me about 3 more questions, but please, Penny Lady.
Well, I know that we only have about 10 more minutes left with you, so I figured let's talk. I know with this outdoor season coming up for Michiganders pretty soon, and whoever else is watching that's coming up on the summer season was going to be growing outdoors. You guys have a product called Organishield. So if you want to talk a little bit about IPM and what people can do and maybe this product.
Yeah, we'll talk about IPM for a second. So if you think of the IPM world, Organishield is something a little different. You guys have probably all heard of, I could throw a million brands out there, but Lost Coast, Dr. Zymes, Trifecta, all these different products out there, Azamax, Azazol, all these things. If you guys are familiar, most of your IPM products today, or all the ones that they're calling themselves organic, are basically going to have oils, right? There's oils, or if you look at citric acid, which is Dr. Zymes and a couple other ones, and citric acid is a brewed process. So those are kind of the main ones out there. So the product that Bloom puts out that's actually helped to develop is called Organishield. And so Organishield is plant safe, people safe, planet safe, water safe. Literally, you could basically drink it, but it's a sugar ester. The way it works, it has limited activity. So if you are using an oil, you may spray the oil, and everybody's used to, I've got to turn my lights out, right? Does that sound kind of familiar? Because I don't want to burn my plant, because I just put suntan oil on it, basically. Well, this is a water-based product, so you could actually leave your lights on after you spray it. It is a contact killer, so most of your oils are suffocants. And what I mean by suffocants is it coats it. If you dunk your head in oil, then you can't breathe. And that's kind of the idea of the modality, or how those things tend to kill. The azodactyrin and some of the other chemical ones tend to be, they'll either mess up the reproductive cycle, the eating cycle, or some other cycle within the bug. So what Organishield makes it a little different is it has limited activity. You spray it on there. It has to make contact with the plant. With the bug. So it's safe. It's bug agnostic. It'll even kill grasshoppers if you use a little bit higher dose. But the way it works is all the bugs that chew and suck on plants, they have soft body parts. They go squish. Even a roach has, squish. It crunches and squishes in there, right? So what this does is it emulsifies that soft body and pulls the moisture out and dries it out. That's essentially what it does. And then when it breaks down into sugar, water, CO2, and fatty acids. And then those.
I love this shit so much, guys.
So, what? Sorry. Did I go too deep?
No, I love it. It's just like, it's
pretty metal.
It's so heavy metal. And man, I'm gonna let you finish, because I gotta send some props to your guys' way.
No worries. So essentially, that's what happens is when you're going to add anywhere from like 40 mils, which is 1%, to 80 mils is 2%. Add it with your water, shake it up. I recommend a fogger, just because, as you know, the smaller particulate, the easier it is to stick to things and cling. But even the pump sprayer will work. But the idea is to, really, everybody says, how do I spray my plant? Well, really, you're spraying the bug. But where's the bug hang out? So you want to coat the top of the plant, the bottom of the leaves, till it drips off, and then it's good for 4 or 5 days, and it's like a once a week regimen. But when it makes contact with those bugs, that's what it's going to do. It's going to desiccate the bug, and then when it breaks down, the sugars the plant can absorb, and a little bit of CO2. I don't know how much CO2 is potentiated yet, but there's CO2 is just one of the 4 components it breaks down to as it breaks down. Leaves no trace behind. It even has a food safe, food grade tolerance thing, because it's a sugar ester. It's just a really unique sugar ester molecule. Sugar esters are in chewing gum, they're in cosmetics and pharmaceuticals, but our particular molecule of sugar esters is made by the wild petunia plant, the wild tobacco plant. And what we did was, you couldn't grow enough of these plants and extract it. So it's basically a biomimic. We invented a way to make this on a commercial scale, so that you can, have enough concentration that you can dilute it and spray it and things like that. So it's essentially a synthesized product, but it's still on the National Organic Program. So it's a USDA organic program product. So we have only been in the market with it this month. Actually, May will be the first full year that we've been selling it. So it's kind of a new product out there.
And it's not something these bugs can become resistant to. And I think that's a key.
Yeah, they can't build a tolerance, because it's a physical kill, basically. But it's
I've used it. I like it. Yeah, I bought a bag of Light Warrior with some drips in it, I think, and I just really like it.
Now the complaints I hear are that it smells like a disinfectant. It doesn't smell sweet, even though it's a sugar ester.
I will say, but it does. It smells like. I don't even want to say. It smells like spoiled milk or something to me a little bit, but hey, it works. So, you
Now-
know, that's fine.
One of the things you can use it for, though, too, is like we've had guys that are using it to clean out their air ducts because they had bug problems coming in through their air ducts they didn't know. Because it's not an oil, it'll do that. You can clean, you know, it's technically a bactericide. It's a soap. It's basically like a soap, but I don't want to ever confuse it with the safer soaps, those potassium salts and fatty acids. Everybody's heard of those, because those you have to rinse off and they leave residue. This self-remediates and leaves nothing behind. Penny Lady, you can speak to that. It doesn't leave much. It doesn't leave residue, but
No, yeah, not at
So
all.
how late in flower can you run it?
you can run it. They have harvest. That's the other thing I was going to go into. Is it won't show up on any test because it's a sugar ester. It's already been tolerance exempt anyway. But the other thing about the oils that a lot of people did not know, oils coat the stomata. And so a lot of times you spray those oils, you'll see the plants kind of slow down because they're not getting the gas exchange. This doesn't hurt the gas exchange or anything because it doesn't go into the plant. The other thing I always worry about with oils and the chemicals, you know, back in the day, DDT was the best freaking bug killer in the world, probably still is. But the challenge was DDT hung around and it shows up in your body and shows up and lasts forever. It persists. Well, this doesn't persist very long. It doesn't leave any residue or anything behind. So that's kind of the key with organics is get in there, kill the bug, do no harm. Don't leave anything in the plant. The oils actually soak into a plant. So Mr. You're the extraction guy, right? You're all about the live
I love
resins.
it. Just all extraction, baby.
So you're about the extraction. So if you think about that, when you're extraction, you just want cannabis oil or cannabis resins. You don't want corn oil or neem oil or whatever else in your extraction, right?
Yeah, I want
so
cannabinoids and terpenes.
Exactly. So that's kind of the goal with this is that all these other oils, even though they may work to some degree, or they wouldn't still be in the market if they didn't work to some degrry, but they soak into your plant and then you don't know it, but you're going to have that in your extraction because it takes 45 days or whatever for those oils to get out. And that's why Porch Farmer, you're asking about how late can you use it? Most things you can't use past, week 3 or 4 in flower just because it's going to end up in your final product.
Some of it even day one. Yeah, there's a lot of banned substances, across the country here because
as soon as you get flower structure, you just stop.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, well, as as a max and as a sol and all that, as a dactyrin extracts used to be the biggest thing. And if you really think about how the evolution of IPM or pesticides have been in the space was, I came from the old days when cannabis was illegal, right? And so everybody was growing, they were using ornamental insecticides, and ornamentals just mean you're not going to eat it, you're not going to smoke it. I mean, I remember I was
pretty
a guy
flowers.
I used Sirocco. Yeah. I mean, I've used Eagle 20. I've used some nasty stuff back in my day, and I've learned, know better, do better. And that was kind of why I think that all those were originally in the cannabis space, because it was considered ornamental because it was illegal. And now as it's come out of the shadows and now we're more mainstream, that, health and safety is a lot bigger thing. And oils are also, I know guys that we have some extraction labs that they only grow for extract, and they like our product because even sulfur, a lot of these guys would use sulfur burners, but if you're doing a concentrate, even a little bit of sulfur is going to add up to a lot in a concentrate. So you want something that you can use similar to what we have. I mean, I think we have the best product, but I'm kind of.
You're not biased at all.
Yeah, I'm not biased at all. Exactly.
Hey, I want to jump in here before we hit hash time. I appreciate you coming on the show. I did not know what to expect. I didn't know too much about your company before the show tonight, and I appreciate you sharing everything. What I want to give you guys props on is it seems like you guys are doing what a lot of people in this industry do, and we're taking the technology that we've experienced and researched over decades from other industries and applying it to this one. First of all, I think that's an awesome thing. The other thing is you guys are thinking about this in a totally different way. Rather than feeding the microbes or feeding like the root system itself with salts or something, you guys are using these enzymatic, if that's a word, reactions to create reactions within the plant in a natural way. And I don't see too many people out there using enzymes for more than breaking down, the microbes or the roots, the dead roots in the soil to, allow for more uptake or something like that.
Yep.
It's just the whole philosophy of growing, right? We all have our own way.
Yeah.
I appreciate the way you guys have approached this, and I'm excited to see more products. As crazy as that is coming from me, because you guys have so many bottles as it is.
Yeah,
it's really cool to see the different ways you're utilizing these enzyme reactions and other things. So props to you guys, and thanks for Thanks for
Sure.
joining the show, man.
No, thank you so much for having me. Anytime, I'd love to come back if you guys ever want to talk about other. There's so many, as Painted Lady knows, there's so many other products in there we could talk about. But yeah, I really appreciate your time. I wasn't sure what to expect either, and you guys are awesome. I look forward to coming up to maybe hang out with you guys at some point.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm down here.
I couldn't find too many videos like really explaining the bottles, you know. So I really wanted to get an interview onto our show. So
yep. Anytime,
it was awesome.
Anytime you have questions, feel free to ask. Thank you so much for having me, and I'll let you guys go from there for your second. I guess you have a second hour too, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
we're having the second half.
man.
We just go a little bit more casual, so we don't have to feel like we're forcing you
So
with
much
a bunch
composure.
of questions and stuff.
Oh, sure,
You
no
can
worries.
hang out if you want. You don't have to.
Yeah, you
but,
don't have to leave.
We'll do more smoking and stuff, and less of like an interview.
Sure, I'd love to hang out and listen to the topics because you guys are. It's always fun to. Guys, I don't get enough of this of talking with other growers and people who are as passionate about it as I am. So I really.
Amen,
appreciate
dude. This has been, you know, in basements and garages and, you know, backyard talk for a long time, and this is also my favorite thing. You know, I've been on YouTube here coming up, I think, on 8 years in June, and longer than that on other social media forums. And I mean, this is where I learned to do all this stuff. You know what I mean? So to be able to just share the knowledge and give back to the community, I think that's a very important part of it.
Yeah,
It's your
thank you
wife's
so much.
favorite thing too, right? Because it keeps you from talking to her about it for X amount of hours.
Gotta have an outlet, baby.
I didn't say it, you did, Sequence.
Well, we all have those friends that are like, man, could you ever talk about anything else? You know, that sort of stuff. And now that you have the outlet to do that here, it opens up the rest of your life for being a normal person and engaging in those conversations with people.
Dude, especially the first couple of years of growing, I'm like, do you guys see this?
Did you know you can clone plants?
Yep. Oh my God. My friends probably were like, just, what are you talking? Yeah. I'm just so, that's why I started watching you guys and why I started watching all the podcasts, because my friends were like, cool, dude. Good story, Casey, you know.
Yeah, dude. I really don't have any friends that aren't growers anymore. They all just kind of faded away. Like, fuck that guy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, these are friends I've had for like 20 years, a lot of them. So, no, that's, you know, we just have different passions, and that's cool. We have our similarities in some ways, but that's why I love, you know, talking to you guys and all the people out there in chat. So, yeah. And one thing I wanted to mention too, Holt, before, you know, I forget, is the last thing I want to say about Bloom that I really, really like, and you guys know I'm all about customer service. Customer service is fucking important. And when I went, that's how I found you guys, is through Mr. Grow It. But then I had kind of had searched for you guys, and really, they weren't really being carried locally except for at Grow Green. And Grow Green had an expo, and Nathan was there, and I was like, oh, sweet. I've been wanting to try you guys. And he was like, great. And he gave me the whole line, whole line of the little bottles to just try them. And that's how I started, you know, using you guys. And then he followed up with it. He was like, oh, cool. You know, and I think I started following you guys on social media, and then reached out because I needed some more. And I was like, where can I buy some more? And he got me hooked up, and I, you know, I have access to that, and it's just really super easy. And I mean, then he reached out via email one day and was like, hey, I'm going to be in Michigan. I'm going to come visit you. And I'm like, I'm a caregiver. I'm not like a commercial facility or anything. And he's like, yeah, I know. We love all of our customers.
Exactly. That's funny.
That's awesome.
And he showed up to my house and like gave me some grow tips and grow space, you know, tips and everything. And
nice.
Really, really cool. And
Nathan's he's a great guy, isn't he? He's a good guy. Well, as you know, as big as the product line is, sometimes you can go, oh, this is too many products. So that's why he really pushes, and I recommend too, try one thing and see how, and then if you go, oh wow, this does what it says it's going to do. I mean, that's kind of the idea. Then add other products as necessary. But
yeah,
Painted Lady, you just made me think of something or remember something. I guess Has anybody on this panel ever received a resume via email to help, like, to work for you at your grow? Because I have, and I want to let everyone know it is a one-man show. There's not any paid positions available. I'm doing this all on my own with a little bit of help from my wife. And
Makes you feel really good.
yeah, I mean, I guess, but like, I'm not as big as some of these people think I am, and it's I don't know, I guess it's kind of heartwarming to get a resume, but I'm like, dude, I wish I could pay you. I really do.
You could always say the good news is you're hired. The bad news is you're not getting paid.
Yeah, it's a
call it
unpaid
internship.
internship.
There you go.
Yep. Let's learn together.
I've been enjoying having a little helper in my grow now. Sequence has been helping out in mine, which has been nice.
Yeah,
So
little garden gnome.
I
so
potted
he's
up.
a little helper. He's just a little help.
Yeah,
I
that's
did.
a little one.
I did.
Just a little help.
He
Yeah,
looks
like
a little next to that
Coquito.
bed behind him.
I just
He's a little
don't want him to feel obligated. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want him to feel like it's his responsibility to help me or anything.
Sequence is crushing it in multiple grows right now. He's in yours. He's in baked.
He's
Dude, when are you gonna
everywhere.
come work for me with this unpaid internship?
Yeah, right. You pay
My
gas.
wife got a job, and I've trimmed 2 plants this weekend.
It's
It's
unbelievable. dude.
unfair. I haven't trimmed plants in years.
That is
Yeah, I know that.
Sounds like you're kind of spoiled there.
Not fun.
It was a good gig.
It was a good run while it lasted.
He
Yeah.
got to grow and she got to trim.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to start somewhere, right?
Right. Work your way up.
Everyone starts
She
in the mail room.
refuses. Yeah, she refuses to plant a seed. So
Man,
Why?
It wasn't
I
that
have no
long
idea.
ago. We could hardly get her to smoke with us, and now look where we are. So
Yeah.
She's like taking tours of commercial gardens and
you're
shit.
right.
It's
Right.
amazing.
Smoking joints with people.
I love it.
It's awesome. She's opening up.
Well, now we'll have to start getting her growing.
I told her you can get yourself a little autoflower and go put it on the porch.
yeah,
Just
Oh,
start
she
where I
gets to
did.
pick her own genetics. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
just right outside this year. That worked.
Yep. Yep.
For real.
I told her so you can just take it to your mom's house, put it in her backyard, whatever you want to do. You know.
Yeah. You can put 12 of them. Shit.
Yeah.
11 friends.
She cuts my clones for me. She roots all my clones. But she
So
won't
she's
pop
a,
the
she's
seed
a
and grow them.
propagator,
Spoiled
but
as
not a
shit,
seed
man.
popper.
Yeah, she's the nurse. She runs the nursery.
So what exactly
gonna-
do you do around there?
Yeah, man.
I water. I
Just
water.
He
direct-
mixes the nutrients.
He's the
guys.
director.
Yeah, I'm about to be mixing some yellow bottles.
There you go.
Shake them up.
There you
That's
go.
right.
Yeah. Absolutely.
They're gonna love them.
I can't wait. I got that ooze. I'm gonna bring the terps.
That's
You
a
can
clip.
Yeah.
Clip
autoflowers,
that
just
baked.
Put them in
It's
the
got
ground
the ooze.
right
The
about
ooze.
now.
You're putting your autos in the ground.
No, I said if you're going in the ground with them, I'd put them out right about now.
May 1st? Like even regular plants?
If no seeds, if there's seeds, I'd be putting them in the ground right now.
Yeah,
Okay.
seeds would be going up for
I
sure.
was going to say, you trying to grow some 10-footers, dog? Like,
Say shit. It snowed here a couple days ago.
I did that. Yeah.
You have the words that came out of my mouth.
Man, nobody understands words.
My
I will say,
autoflowers are
though,
indoor.
It's after hash time. We only half listen now.
You can get 2 runs in if you were to start them now, for sure.
Yeah. Or at least just one run that you could have a bumper crop way before anybody else is pulling down.
Yep,
Right.
I've got my autoflowers going, and then I've got my flower tent going, and then I've got the outdoor that'll go. So little stages.
Nice.
Shit, I need to hang a light up real quick.
So what's everyone's plan for outdoor? We're looking at May 1st right now. I went too early last year, and 8, maybe 10 out of my 12 plants were over 7 feet tall. It was too much to handle, and so now I'm like, do I wait till just like after the 4th of July kind of thing, just have some sort of marker there, or do I just like put them out smaller? Is this organic soil too good?
I like to start them in June, personally.
And what do you mean by it was too big? What do you mean by that?
Dude, there's just
Yeah, what do you mean?
again
Confused.
one guy. What's
What's your wife doing?
I needed to call
Too
one of those
big.
from crews. Let's put it that way.
You get your wife into trimming.
Oh no, she helped. But listen, it was a lot. Okay, let's just
So just
That's
do
the
the
thing
same
is
thing
people
with
don't
less,
realize.
do the same thing with less plants then.
Or just smaller plants. I don't know. I like the variety. You know what I mean? I know it works well outdoors. The garlic punch was incredible outdoors, way better than it was indoors for some reason.
You didn't
And
have
then
any
lime
problems with
skunk,
PM or
clementine
anything?
worked great. No, the only thing I
Sweet.
had was a little bit of a little bout of aphids, and I think I've talked
Okay.
about this on the show before. I literally heard this tip from like a vegetable gardener on like Instagram or something. Took my hose down with the jet stream on, sprayed them all off the plant, never saw them again.
Just physically have removed them like that.
Outdoors
It's
fun.
a good way.
Well,
I
for
couldn't believe
me,
it works.
I'm thinking I've got a 16 by 18 deck that gets full sunlight at like for most of the day. And I wanted to take some 7-gallon pots and try some autoflowers in them. But I'm not sure, should I start them off in like a solo cup, or should I start them in a 1 gallon, or should I start them right in the 7-gallon itself? What is the prevailing wisdom on anybody in the panel, anybody in the chat? What would you do?
I always start them right in their pot.
How many
Okay.
times have
Final
you grown
pot.
autoflowers?
I've never ran a single one in my entire life and don't want to fuck it up.
Start it in the
I-
final pot.
I've grown a shit ton of them.
Started in the final
grown
pot.
them right in the final
Okay.
pot.
If you want to be fancy, you can start it in a root riot, and then was it sprouts? You can put it in your final pot, but I mean, just put it in the final pot.
That's what I've always heard, Skilbo. I've never done it myself, but even the conventional wisdom like 6 years ago. Was just
Here's
put it in
another
the
one.
final
So
pot.
I've got this. I still have soil left over from my bed, and my intention was to do the classic top dress and add some more gypsum and some earthworm castings and blah blah blah. But if I'm going to start this in here, do I want to give it like the water kiss where you put the seed in there and then just come up with the water a little bit? What is the way that you guys do this? Because nobody ever talks about this.
I would
It's a
take
good
your soil.
opportunity.
I'd take your soil now, put it in a pot, and start a cover crop, and then get that going, and then worry about. Then you'll have plants
Okay.
in the ground growing, and it'll be ready to go, and then you can throw your seed in there.
That's a good tip.
Yeah,
Now, if I
like
can
that.
figure out which of the 87 totes worth of fucking the shit from my garden, my old white clover and fucking crimson clover is hanging out in, man. Some
Dude,
winter
just go
run.
into your yard and just fucking scalp your yard a little bit and throw it on top. It'll fucking establish.
Dude, you're a genius.
Shit's
There you go.
invasive, man.
You know what? I was out last weekend and I dug up like these fucking 20-year-old yucca plants, dude. Holy shit, that's a fucking job and a half, man. There was probably
Dude.
about 20 of them, man.
Those things are terrible. I've tried to get those things out. They're terrible.
It's a fucking beast, man.
I got a rototiller you guys can borrow next time. Just slam
Good
those.
luck. You
Now I've got them
fucking-
everywhere, right? Just spread it everywhere.
Yep.
Hey, I've got a question, kind of in the same breath as Skilbo there regarding like pot size. In regards to transplanting organics, how do you guys feel about that? Because someone brought it up earlier. I apologize, I forget who, but we talked about, dude, in cocoa and stuff like 1 gallon to 3 gallon to 5 gallon to 7 gallon, whatever you want to do, just rooting up. It's going to take a while for them to get root bound, but they can get root bound. In organic soil, the conventional wisdom that was brought to me back in the grow tube days, but I think the
Shout out to
Mendo
the old
Dope
Grow
boys,
Tube Round.
they said this basically the second you see a root at the bottom, you transplant that thing into the next
Yeah.
biggest pot. And
I think
that's
that
what
was
I've
a
been
Subcool
trying
thing,
to
wasn't
do
it?
lately. Maybe it was Subcool. I think he's the one that brought him on. But and that's
if
what I've
you're
been
growing
trying to
from
do.
seed, because that's the tap root
Because it
shooting
shoots the
down.
tap. Good point.
But if you're not
Yeah.
growing from seed, you're growing from clone. You're not going to get a tap root.
Now they're growing
So-
out.
But well, no, I disagree. I mean, maybe it's just all the sativas or whatever I grow, but they go straight to the bottom of the pot, and then they find the bottom, and then they start spreading out. They always go down to the bottom first. No one else experienced that, huh?
I
just
wonder
feeder
how
roots.
do you
Like
transplant it if you don't have the roots down there to hold the soil together?
Right,
Yeah.
and that's the thing I've gone to early, and it's like I pull it out and try to get the right moist.
Well, that's
moisture
the issue
level and
because
everything,
what'll happen is you did that 3 gallon. I got to hurry up and water. And if you've got a large area at the bottom of the pot that is just solid soil and doesn't have roots established, that shit stays fucking wet, man. And then now you're like, oh, it doesn't feel like I need to water it yet. But then now you're running into wet feet. It's just, there's like 5 problems that's going to come from that shit.
Exactly. So yeah, that's the idea of up potting in general, is that if you put it in the final pot from the get, the roots tend to do what you said. They explore to the edges of the pot, and then they just fill in the edge of the pot, and you got this huge pocket in the middle where there's not a lot of roots. So the whole idea behind up potting anyway is to build a root zone in a smaller spot. So every up pot, you're filling that pot with roots rather than you're getting rid of that giant pocket in the middle by doing that. So to transplant before you have any root zone there, you're kind of missing the whole point of putting it in the small pot to begin with. Because you're wanting to build a root zone so that it doesn't spread out. You want to keep it contained so it stays in a smaller, you're establishing a root zone in your center of your final pot with your small pot.
Ooh, I got a secondary thing to add to that. Since I was saying subcool and shouted him out, let's do this. He had this thing where if he was up potting, he would take the container that he was going to go into and he would put like as much soil as would make up the difference between the pot size that he's already in and the new pot. Then he would put that new pot, an empty one, in there and fill the whole thing with soil. And then he would lift that one pot out that's now full of soil and you have a perfect implant. Then you come around and you dust that with whatever you're going to do if you're into that sort of thing. Yep, Mycos and all that shit. Drop that down in the hole. Now, the other tip is, since we're talking about maybe it took me a minute to establish all these roots, so I've got kind of a leggy plant now. What I used to do is I would bury mine deeper because I know that anything that's the main stem that goes under the ground is going to begin to shoot roots as well, as the plant is going to be down near the bottom where if I'm doing any kind of butt chugging, I'm going to be able to get that up quicker. So I didn't mind burying mine a little bit deeper and put, 3-4 inches of plant under the ground, and if I had anything, I would just remove all that bullshit and go from there.
So kind of the opposite of mounding then, because I've always done the opposite where you put maybe 2 inches or so above the soil and then you have this ring around it that kind of allows the water to kind of soak up everything at the same time. You know what I'm saying?
I've done that, but then what I would run into is where I would have water that just shoots down the side of the pots so that I'm seeing more of a wash off rather than a rush in.
So you're going in like me with that 3 liters and just dumping it all out.
Dude, I'm guilty as shit. That's why I'm talking back on it, man. I know your pain.
I will say using worm casting, putting like a nice like 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch layer or whatever of worm castings on top really just kind of slows everything down and brings it down almost like a filter. I guess it literally is a filter.
That's awesome. Fix too. Anytime your plants are your plants are struggling,
your castings.
Put just a little layer of worm castings across the whole fucking top and water it in. God damn, I'll tell you in a day.
They seem like they're magic.
It's gonna green up.
Yeah,
that's I didn't mention that earlier, but along with those 3, whatever organic reservoir type nutrients, I am using I was using Michigan Mediums, which is the brand of soil that I like, but I couldn't find their worm castings anytime recently, so I ended up using something like wiggly worms, worm wigglers or something like that. Are you guys familiar with that?
Yeah, I've got a bag of it right now. It seems to be okay, but I like the one I usually get, and I just got a bag, was Detroit Nutrient Company's Tommy.
I didn't make the drive for it, dude. I was like, all right, there's a place like 8 miles, 12 miles, whatever it is from me that has this wiggly worm bullshit. I guess I'll give that a try. But yeah, there was one maybe like another 5 miles away that had DNC.
Oh, I would have driven 5 miles for it.
Yeah, well, now I know, dude.
5 miles isn't enough.
I know. I actually try new things.
So the crazy thing,
$4 a gallon.
The crazy thing his guy does for the worms is they keep processing it until it's almost like all castings. So like it's super processed. It's real fine.
It is really nice stuff.
It's good stuff.
All right, well, I'll give it a try. I will say Michigan Mediums, man, that soil is crushing it. It's fantastic. Don't go buying all the yards though. I need a couple for outdoor. I need to just give me a couple, like a week or 2.
I only buy a bag of soil once a month, maybe. It's just to top off shit that's fucking getting broke down.
Soil or worm castings?
It's both. With worm castings, I don't buy hardly as much. Maybe a bag every
like
2
once
months.
A quarter. Yeah, okay.
Something like that.
Yeah,
but
giving away plants, getting.
I'm talking about regular, like M3 or the Detroit Nutrient Company water only. I usually get M3 if I can get it.
I don't like M3, dude. Try Michigan Mediums, dude. I don't want to talk too much shit, but it's.
I'm not gonna try no fucking soil that's fucking special for veg and special for flower. Fuck that. I want one thing.
You want the one thing that's subpar and like 2 weeks less nutrients value.
Terrible.
And like way too much perlite and like
I don't
overhyped.
I don't just throw it out after each type. I use it again and again and again, and I add my own inputs. So it's really my soil at this point.
Oh, okay.
I started with Coco Loco like 2 years ago, and it just keeps getting returned.
Yeah, all my shit, man. It's probably at least all of it's over a year old.
Yep.
But I do have to. It does get broke down after a while, and I have to add more on top to level it off.
Yep.
I'm going to plant some in the ground this year, I think. And see what happens. I think it's just going to, they're going to be monsters, and I'm
They
just
will.
going to provide some fucking privacy to the
That'd be
deck.
awesome.
It'll be like a little oasis. But
Shit.
yeah,
Can't
Lady, I might be right there with
Yeah.
you.
yeah.
I did my 25-gallon smart pots last year, maybe left like 4 inches, above the soil, just to kind of give that barrier. I thought about just pulling those things out of the holes this year and filling it back with fresh soil and just popping them right in their little holes there and let them go. But again, like last year, they were too big. So I think I just have to smaller plants a little bit later, maybe. I don't know.
Just
but
take
I'm
them
right
out.
there with you.
Just plant them in that same spot. Don't even just plant them in the exact same soil.
Mm-mm.
Too
The
big.
plant from the year before has got to have used up
There's too
something.
much.
So
Dude,
this
there's
year should be a little bit
I
smaller.
swear to God, there's no nutrients left in that soil.
Some craft
take you
blend.
beside. All right, do me a favor and plant one plant out there and tell me how it does.
All right, fair enough. I'll plant
Put
it.
an-
Actually,
Put an autoflower in there.
I had 2 primal. Well, provide me access. I don't even know where to start with autoflowers, guys. I really
Well,
don't.
it's probably enough nutrients in there to go start to finish.
Dude, you can go to a local grocery store. They sell fem autoflowers at the grocery store. Like, what the hell is some local person? Like, sweet. It was like
They're just
40
novelty
bucks.
seeds, dude.
I think it's
Yeah,
35 bucks for 5 seeds. I think it was. I can't remember.
It's a
They were
really
cheap.
expensive
Novelty
bird
bird
seed.
seed.
Well, I was just going to dig some big old holes and put some worm castings, because I've got some big bags of worm castings from last year. A couple, well, at least I'm one short because the raccoon got in my garage and fucked shit up and got into the worm castings bag and got all over my car, man.
Oh my God.
Oh, man.
Knocked my gate over onto my car.
Oh.
Wasn't a good day.
Were you still not wanting to kill it? Because I would be wanting to kill it at that point.
Yeah, how
That
many
one-
traps did you set
That
up?
one I might have killed if I had seen
Good
that
for
one.
you.
That mofo.
Oh.
So yeah, I'll be going to get the 22 and
I might have torched it, but
chase it the
Wow.
fuck out.
Jeez.
I was not thrilled
Torched
when I
it.
found out
That's
when I found the
savage.
gate on top
Just
of
got
my
like
car, but-
napalm.
Oh,
Yeah.
if she's gonna go there. She's gonna go all
Yeah.
the way. She's
He's
not
out there
fucking.
to sequence dab towards.
He's got the torch at ready.
But yeah, I've got some. That's what I plan on doing. Just using my worm castings and putting that down into the ground and watering in some, probably a little bit of some bloom yellow bottles eventually. Once they need it, once they need a little extra boost.
Give them that pre.
Yeah.
Squat.
Well,
Yeah, maybe
load
that's
them
what I
up.
should do this year.
Load
That's
them on
true,
the
that-
pre.
Last year I did what kind of Grolly was saying with the fabric pot in the ground, and it was filled with the M3, the stuff he hates. And,
I don't hate it. It's just subpar. All right.
And
It's
I
like
grew
a 3 out of
and I wa-
5.
watered that plant maybe 3 times the entire year. It rained enough to keep it going. I never fed it anything ever, and I got like a pound off of it. Then it was amazing. So
I used
That's-
M3 and I liked it.
But y'all haven't
I'm just
tried
saying that-
Michigan
I'm just saying
Medium yet,
just-
that's all I'm saying.
I'm just saying like that. That's I mean I was in like a 10-gallon pot. It doesn't. Most of the nutrition and stuff came from the native soil. It's not coming from that little pot. No way the size of that plant. So I mean,
Yeah, I want to harvest some IMO, plant out in the yard.
yeah, I mean I love planting out in the yard. I just don't. I mean I live in a neighborhood with a guy right behind me, a guy next
Right,
to me.
right.
Yeah.
So if I do anything, it'll be a few autoflowers, mixed in with my vegetables, but that's about it. That one that went last year, I thought was an autoflower, and I just got it mixed up and planted a fucking photo period. So I just,
The sparkle face,
Just
is that
did
what it
its
was?
thing.
yeah, that sparkle face, yeah.
Yeah, I
that-
think it looked great, man. I mean, no, I'm not, I'm 3, sure. If it works for you, grower philosophy, all that,
I'm just saying it was easy. I left it alone. It was
Yeah,
so-
no, the water, and dude, you're right. Like the precipitation we received last year. I know we talked about this, like 7-8 months ago or whatever. I think after the 4th of July, like that weekend, I don't think I watered my plants more than like twice the rest of July, or maybe it was in June or something. It was crazy. It was like so much rain, but it wasn't so much that they were like getting flooded out. It was really just the perfect season for it. But I tell you what, man, I would really love to like set up some sort of cheap, simple pop-up greenhouse type situation this year, because
that would be nice.
that'd be very helpful.
You can always do a light depth too if you're going to do that.
Oh, dude, yeah. If I had 50 grand to spend, trust me, I'd be setting up a 24 by 36 light depth.
Throw one up real quick.
Yeah, bro. Like, come on.
Let's automate it all. Let's do an automated light depth. Make it really easy on us.
Hire that person.
Out of that thing. Trust me, we'll be. Oh, yeah. I'm gonna need a bigger close-loop system, guys.
Was that in their resume?
Well, I'm stoked to use I'm going to use the soil that's in my pots. I had those big 20-gallon pots that I grew my outdoor in last year, and I was kind of messing around with them, I don't know, a week or so ago, and that soil was looking good in there. So I think I'm just going to reuse it and amend it. Like you said, Spartan, I've got some of those oil, what is it, Mother Earth, or what do I have in the boxes? Those boxes?
Down to
Earth.
Down to Earth, yeah. I have some of those. I still have some alfalfa. And some barley, I think I still have. So
if anybody needs wood ash,
barley last all the way on the top and just leave it.
Cool. Yeah. So I think that's what I'm just gonna do. Plant those suckers outside in the dirt and see how it works this year instead of in the big things that seem to dry out, and see what difference it makes in the end. Hopefully they get a little more sun than they were down there in those pots too.
Oh yeah. It'd be interesting to see how much of a difference there is. You know?
Yeah.
It'd be really cool to see if it shows up in the smoke, like there's a different taste or something.
That's what I'm thinking. And it'll keep Mrs. over here from blasting off the end of the deck, and she's tearing up my grass down there.
Oh no.
Oh no, Diamond.
Burst energy.
No, Diamond, no.
Zoomies.
Oh, no, I'm not going to get to run the Hong Kong Fooey outdoors this year. I'm on day 77 right now, and it's still got clear trichomes.
What's the cross on that?
Oof.
That's dog shit times Old Family Purple.
Tell me dog shit is something good.
Yeah.
It's better than cat
Something
piss.
great.
No, dude, you say cat piss.
It's that
Diamond.
old school
Oh.
strain dog shit. I don't know. That's from CSI.
Man, these names.
I know, right?
We're going to run, when Sequence and I were looking at seeds, we combined our seeds. We're looking at
that's gotta be
stuff.
a lot
What
now.
are the ones that we're going to run? Those soul fires?
Yeah, Get Down, I think it was called.
Yeah,
is
they get down.
Get down. Hell
Come
yeah.
on with the come on, get down with the get down.
Yeah.
Jungle Boogie.
I can't remember what the cross was, but it looked good to me. So yeah, something new to look forward to
Looking
soon,
it up real quick.
because I'm only going to run one room.
Oh yeah.
Ooh, wow, it's gonna really become a battle of the fucking bands now,
Tighten
man.
it up.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
I don't want to trim it. I'll smoke it, but I don't want to trim it.
Yeah, that's detailed trim right there.
That looks
That's a
pretty.
lot
like
of little fucking
banana.
pieces, man.
Fucking
What's that say? I'm too old to read that shit. What's
It
that?
says Meltdown by Black Banana. Well, I don't know what Meltdown is.
It's
Both
electric orange fragrance, it says.
Oh, right on. So who's the breeder on that?
It's just
Soulfire.
Soulfire.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Well, that'll be kind of cool.
best is a multi-topped bush.
She's a worker.
I like
Maybe
a
we could-
multi-topped bush.
Maybe we could try it outside.
So wait a minute. Hold on. I have a question now. How many fucking strains are you guys holding?
She just got 30 in her multi-pass.
I was gonna say
No,
she's got
no.
7
Not
million
in
the
your
mail.
seed pack, not in the vault. I'm saying, Sequence, you were holding fucking, was it 18?
Yeah, I don't have any strains anymore.
Okay, there we go. So you will fucking grow what you get to grow, mister. Get in there and get the gnomon and them fucking leaves.
We don't smoke much anymore, so it's gonna be a lot of variety, I think.
Well, I think if Fergoli was here, he'd be happy to go ahead and fresh frozen what you guys have and give it back to you in some kind of tasty treat form that you could really fucking enjoy. Maybe even come up with some kind of really cool mix between two flavors. I can tell he's really not here and not just ghosting us with the screen.
Sure.
He'd have jumped in by now.
just got to
Yeah.
talk about terps.
I gotta somebody put up the terp signal. He'll fucking come back.
I started
Yeah,
my probably
Soulfire is really good, so I'm excited. Yeti gave me those seeds, I think, as a housewarming gift or something
Shout
like
out to
that.
Yeti.
So you're gonna pop that whole pack, or you're just gonna do a certain amount?
I doubt it because it's 12. We'll
You
probably
run
Yeah.
6?
Are they
Yeah,
femmes or are they
test
right?
them. No, they're regulars.
Okay.
Just do 6 and see where you go.
Get them
Yep.
tested and then.
I like the idea of running testing on it, man. If it's worth holding on long term, especially if you're a caregiver, I know that's like a dying breed thing, but that's a great service to have for your
Wow, that
customers.
was
And I'm going to give a
offensive.
shout out to
Not that
Red
much,
Setter Farm because he's always been big on having his shit tested and being able to, really have the numbers and try to make that connection and help the patient fucking get the meds that they need. For Girlie, you just missed it, dude. I threw up the terp signal and everything, and you just missed it all. We're talking
Here
about
for it now.
Sequence and Painted Lady. They said they don't smoke that much anymore, and I said, well, I'm sure I know somebody that we could do some fresh frozen work with, and maybe even come up with some really fucking fancy blends.
Yeah, man. We harvesting it is very particular. So I would love to help you guys out on that because that's important. I'm trying to capture the essence of what you grew, right? And so to harvest it and not really save that essence is ultimately a failure when it comes to fresh frozen.
So what do I need to do if I'm just listening to the show and I might know a guy myself, but I want to know what I need to do?
Well,
Keep it cold.
yeah, keep it cold and keep the oxygen away. That's, I mean, the
Do you want a
simplest form,
sub-zero freezer for that? Like in restaurants, you can get those ones that'll go like -7 and shit like that. Is that what
I
you
mean,
want?
a chest freezer like that you get at your local Menards, right? That should be like -10 degrees Fahrenheit.
Dude,
or
have you
something
been
like
into
that.
Lowe's? Have you seen they get those long boys? Whoo-wee, man. Those are some fucking long ass chest freezers. Man.
Some like 30 square footers or something.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, but no, I mean, like, basically you want to harvest it kind of like you would if you were dry harvesting, but essentially taking off all the fan leaves and leaving what sugar leaves you can on there. I like to not basically just trim around the bud because I don't want to expose all those cell walls and potentially bring in the chlorophyll, fats, lipids, and every other thing that you don't want in your extract. So I try to be delicate with it. But it's a very important step of the process to get quality in, quality out, right? So after you've removed everything that doesn't have trichomes on it, you really want to break it down into the smallest node you possibly can. And so that means, say you've got a 14-inch cola or something, you're going all the way up. You might have these, couple that come off the side. Yeah, no stick at all. But it's important to, it's less no stick and more just breaking it down so that your solvent can flow freely through it. You don't want to force it or really make it struggle to soak all the trichomes. So if you break it down into those individual nodes, it's very helpful. Now you're going to pack it to some extent anyway in the closed loop system, so you don't, you're not going to worry too much. You don't got to be too crazy about it. But as long as you're working fast, you're working efficiently, you're breaking down the nodes, you're getting off all the extra stuff you're not really interested in extracting, and you're getting it into a vac sealer pretty much immediately. But you got to remember, when you're vacuuming things, you're bringing down boiling points.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the important parts is like you don't want to be in a room that's 85 degrees and be vac sealing this stuff. Ideally, you'd be in a slightly cooler than your standard, room temperature room. So if possible, do it in there. The other very important part is, especially if someone else is doing the work, the processing for you, is please do not vac seal it to the point where it's going to freeze as a brick. You want to vac seal it to the point where it's just starting to compress, like you just see it compress in that bag, and then you seal it. Don't just sit there and click vac seal or whatever, and it's going to compress it down to a brick, because it will literally be a brick, and you'll be taking a saw or a chisel or something to it to break it down to fit in your materials column. So that's very unhelpful.
Yeah, because it is containing moisture still, so it's definitely going to fucking freeze together like that.
Oh, it's 80% moisture still at that point, and that's why we're looking at a difference in dry materials. It's going to give you 15, 18% or something returns. This is going to give you 3, 4, 5, 6% returns. So, the amount that you're putting in there is, it's a little bit more work. It takes a lot more time, and the more capacity, the better. But there is a limit on that where you're going to consider it craft too, I think. getting a little further than we need to there. But getting the reason we vac seal it and not compress it is, other than workability, is we don't want to oxidize the material.
Yeah.
Oxygen is going to degrade your trichomes. It's going to degrade everything in the plant. So that's why I consider fresh frozen a higher quality than a cured product, because it hasn't been sitting there for 5 days to 2 weeks or whatever, drying. And even if it's a 60-degree room or whatever, you're still losing quality there. At that point, it's just running your process at as cold as you can get at pretty much temperature to, again, still preserve every part of that plant you just harvested, because it's wasteful not to.
Inside of our bomb-proof room, right?
See you one day, one baby.
There it is.
That room was sweet too.
Dude, wait till you see a bigger one. That one was, I could touch both sides of it, both sides of the walls in there.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty small, honestly. But hey, whatever. He
Still
didn't have a lot of
sweet.
room to work with.
It's a micro business. Exactly.
Yeah.
He literally doesn't need
Maximize
anything
the
more than
space,
that.
making it work.
Exactly.
I want an explosion-proof room.
For that fire you grow.
Studio in there.
Oh man, just listen to him talking about how you had to have it so that it would run with no power.
15 seconds, man. Like a hospital. It's literally hospital standards for processing.
He literally has this whole thing running off a UPS sequence. It's got a UPS.
I heard that. That's so clever.
Yeah. I was like, oh my God. It'll only run it for like 30 seconds. He needs it to run for 15, but it'll run it for like 30 if he needs it to.
I was at Costco today looking at generators, and I saw they had this Duracell it's like I guess it's just a battery, but it runs like 500 watts for I don't know how many hours. So I'm looking for things to run these.
Yeah, you should plug them in the wall and they charge up. Yep.
Yeah, but you can also daisy chain them, right? So I'm wondering how
big of a fire that'll be.
Cool.
Shit.
I couldn't resist, man.
You heat your house too with them. Keep them in the house.
Yeah, that's why I got grow lights, bro.
Shout out to the HPS.
Try to heat my grow rooms with extension cords.
Oh God.
Oh shit, man.
Yeah, they can get seriously hot though. You guys gotta be careful about the
Those heated floors, bro. Heated floors.
Yeah, well, we're talking light depth. I mean, if we go heated floor, we
Geothermal.
can go year round.
Geothermal.
Just saying.
Yep.
There's not enough
Geothermal with
light.
fish.
No, there's
We can
not.
do
But LEDs are very efficient nowadays. So
Yeah, you need lights out there.
it's not like you're not gonna have a 100 amp panel in your light depth greenhouse anyway. Just throw
Hey,
30
I'll
amp
be honest.
lights in there.
I actually missed fucking HPS a couple of winters ago when I first made the switch over to all LED. I was like, oh shit, these temperatures are getting down there at night now.
Oh, I run heaters in my grow room. That's for sure. Heaters and air conditioning.
Yep.
Ooh, I just checked my pulse and mine is warm right now. These warmer temperatures are making a difference.
Yeah, it's changing.
So check your vitals on your rooms and stuff, people, because they're changing as the weather does.
This is about the time where I changed my 8x8 veg tent from exhausting the air inside of the building to exhausting the air outside of the building.
Oh yeah. Yep. Exactly.
Yep, I've got my AC pumping now.
Now I can hook up that Pulse Pro. Put the Pro in there for the rest of the flower time, and then put the regular one in the.
That was your long con. That's why you bought that as a gift for him, because you knew it was fucking coming back eventually. You're like, you could just borrow for a few.
And it's so rude.
We were talking about
nasty and rude.
Fucking genius.
Clever chops.
So nasty and so rude.
Nailed
And
it.
if you guys are enjoying this, make sure you come through tomorrow night at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the late sesh, where you get more of the cut up jokes and good shit.
True that. Been good.
I'm fucking high, man.
Me too.
Mission accomplished.
Yep,
We still
just
got
did a
21 to go.
fat lime skunk dab.
Oh man, dude,
That's all I've been hitting
that
today,
is
dude.
one of my favorite. Oh, look at that, brothers!
Oh, nice.
Both on the line.
Look at that focus too.
I
Didn't
did
even need the
like
white
that
paper.
one. That was one of my faves.
The taste.
It's the wake and bake, man. I'm telling you, if you
Yeah,
guys are
for
into
real.
wake and bakes, try that one. The flavor, it's easy on the lungs, and get down. What do you got there? Oh, he's got the clem.
Clementine.
I like how you color coded
Oh,
the
that's-
clementine on that too. Kind of
That's
makes
like,
it
dude,
pop.
I'm trying to change up the labeling just a
Looks
little
good,
bit.
looks
You know what I
good.
mean? I had too many
There you
people
go.
thinking Fergroli was the strain name.
Why is the market
That's
flooded with
hilarious.
this fucking shit, huh?
Yeah,
It's getting it around.
Wait a minute, we can do
Man,
the
this
old one.
really,
It's a
really
me.
changed from last time.
It's a me.
It's
No,
always
I'm
different.
I'm looking forward to bringing more. Let's see. I already ran some stuff for this Michigan Gems and Genetics coming up, and a couple other events in June here. But I ran Mr. Clean on its own. Very excited about that one.
Mhm.
I ran Durban Poison on its own for the first time in I don't know how many years. I ran Garlic Punch as well, and then I have more Clementine to run, and then I think. So I have enough to do a lime skunk run on its own, but the clem and lime turned out so good that I kind of want to recreate that and then maybe do another lime combo because it's either one full run of lime skunk or two, combo runs of lime skunk.
Do a variety.
I kind of
You just did a straight run of the lime, run a variety.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna do it. I know I ran clem and lime last time, but it was. Someone pointed out it was like a mojito or a margarita, and it really was. It was so good.
Sounds
Yeah.
Cinco de Miles right around the corner. Shit.
Baked has. I don't know if he's still got it. It's probably not anymore.
I
But
thought you were going to say, is he still up? You know he's not up.
Oh, he's probably not up. No, 10:41. No way.
We got to make our
No
bake joke.
way.
It's obligatory.
News.
Oh, and he was out partying with his parents. No fucking way. He was-
What was it? Like a three-way boomer party?
Partying with his
No.
Oh, I
shit,
thought that was going to be
Red.
him that jumped
Red.
out.
No,
What's
it's
up,
not
Red?
Red.
Red.
No way. I'm telling you, he's sleeping.
No, I believe you.
Rebecca
That's
says they
hilarious,
literally
man.
just
I was like,
got
he's
home and
listening.
unpacked. And there's Red.
What's up, man?
What's up, dude?
Did you get a nap in,
Hello.
dude?
No. Who slept this weekend? Not me. Look at these eyes. Do these look like the eyes of somebody who has slept it all this weekend?
Just up out of the
No,
Red
sir.
Mobile.
Really,
Good
no.
God.
How you doing,
Hungry
man?
eyes.
I'm doing good, man.
How was it? I want to hear about it, man.
I don't even know where to start, to be
focus.
honest. Holy
Maybe
cow.
start with Friday
purple.
or Saturday.
Let's see here. We got in there fashionably late as usual, about an hour before the event, which gave us plenty of time to kind of get going. The event opened up for public at about 3:00. This is the Big Clouds inaugural event. Big Clouds Farm on the west side of Michigan, in Jones, Michigan, southwest Michigan.
You're south of Kalamazoo, even.
South of
way
Kalamazoo.
down
Yeah.
there.
Oh yeah. South of it's like 131. So like south of all the West Coast cities, right? Muskegon, Grand Haven, and
Is it like north of Fort Wayne, basically?
North Fort Wayne. Yeah, there you
Okay. Okay.
go.
It's
Yeah,
north
actually
of the
Fort Wayne.
border. That's the only thing it's north of. the
Barely.
border.
Barely. Man, I don't know what I can and can't talk about this event.
Did you have a good time?
I had a blast. Becca had a blast. DOG
The
had
dog
a
DOG
did
blast.
misses you.
Yeah, DOG missed us a lot. He's wanting his attention right now. We just got home. We just got freshly showered, being around growers and cannabis plants and all that all weekend. Let's see here, man. Friday, the weather was moderate, right? Had a lot of clouds, a little bit of sunshine. Now, if you know what cannabis and sunshine do, when they're in the ground, they do great. But when it's cured cannabis in jars, not so great.
Bye bye,
So-
Terps.
Yeah, well, here's the thing, man. You have to constantly. So this is what we're doing. The jar would get warm, let it go, off gas it, and then as soon as somebody getting ready to kind of walk by, cap it. They come up to the booth, fresh flavor. So you have to play with what you have. It is what it is situation. You have to kind of run through the ringer with your stuff. We went with freshly cured product with adequate moisture, and you could see the moisture filling up on the jars. By the end of today, 3 days later, everything's crispy. It was making sure we sold out of everything before we came home, and we're down to a little. This dog is going crazy. I'm sorry, guys.
All good.
Everybody's used to it, man.
Yeah, I know. So let me see. I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted. Let me get rid of him real
Poor
fast.
DOG.
I can't. pay
Donkey Kongington says, "Oh, that dog really missed you, man." There you go. Yeah.
Poor doggy.
You don't see cats doing that.
Yeah. Good point. That is a good point.
I don't know.
You get along with her for now. Careful.
As
No.
sequence
Dude,
with flap.
Dude, my cat does it. It's like he's not a cat, man. I wake up and he's right there, like, "Hey, buddy, pet me."
Wagging his tail and shit.
Yep. He wants love. He's not like, "Fuck you."
Does your cat eat your veg plants?
No,
My
I
cat
don't
used
let
to
him
go-
anywhere near him.
I used to have one, and I'd let my cat. He would go in there and grab the bottom leaves and chew on them because he was an indoor cat, and so
Yeah.
he kept him.
I can't stand cat hair on my weed, so like the cat's not even allowed in my room.
I got it.
Same.
That leads to the room.
My pit bull loves the stems though. After I've harvested all those fresh
yeah,
frozen
Red.
stems, because you know they're not dried out at that point. They're
Yeah.
still. She could just strip them down. Oh, spends hours on them. It's great.
They get the CBD, I think, out of them. I think it helps them with inflammation and stuff. Oh,
I can
wow.
see that.
Yeah, limp syringe, Red.
It looked like it melted.
Hey, she's looking
A
warm.
little
Ken.
bent, a little
It's a,
bent.
it's a limp syringe.
I think you missed the vein.
You know, you just kind of leave shit in your bag, and then you just like throw more shit in your bag, and then more
Yep.
shit in your bag.
Yeah,
Just
not
throw it
leaving
out.
those jars upright. I hear
Sure,
that's a
most of mine end
problem.
up looking
These
like
little things
that.
just throw
Oh,
in there.
spill, baby.
This guy here just throw it in there. No, this is
Oh wow,
this
that's
thing
cool.
actually seals. This is fucking awesome.
That's
I've had
cool. I
this for
like
years.
that jar.
I've had
Where'd
it
you
for
get that
years.
from?
Michaels.
What?
Michael.
Yeah, like circa 2015 probably.
Oh,
I've had
Is
this
it
forever.
plastic or glass?
No, dude, it's glass,
Oh,
man.
sweet.
It's a ball
Dabble,
jar.
you got it.
Yeah.
I love it.
It fits a pint jar lid. It's fucking sweet.
Nice.
It's about a pint jar.
Probably
Glass jar.
empty nowadays, but
Yeah. Let's see here. So Friday, Astro Charlie was slightly under the weather. He and I split a booth for the remainder of the weekend. Shout out to Astro Charlie. First off, he is, the one that's behind this logo. He hooked me up with the new silhouette logo. And guys, right before we hit the event, boom, redsetterfarm.com. Please check it out.
Nice.
We have a website. You cannot make sales through our website, but redsetterfarm.com. We wrote that
Oh,
on
yeah.
here. You like that?
That's
Come in
classic.
ship. Let's see here.
Silver
No
Sharpie.
sales on the website, but you
Silver
can
Sharpie.
access our menu, swag, sticker packs, our little pre-roll containers, anything that doesn't come with cannabis. We have hat pins and a handful of things on there that you can source.
Hey,
to
I
link
want to
tree
give a
and
shout
stuff.
out on those hat pins, dude. Those are like a real enamel ones and shit, man. I slapped that
Thanks,
on the
man.
bag. Yeah.
Appreciate that. Yeah, it took me a little while to find one that actually did like the gunmetal style instead of just black enamel, and then with the red. So it's really only one color with a tinted metal, which I really like. So those ones are neat. I'll grab one
It's
here. in a
classy
second to show
swag, man.
everybody. Let's see here. Saturday rolls around. Lots of rain midday. Astro Charlie showed up kind of early. It was awesome because I have not only my cannabis products, which is pre-rolls, dry sift hash, RSO, flour, some stuff, but I have art, hand painted pendants, blotter art, things like that. Obviously it's dry, unlaid and things like that. It's out in the sun all day. If anything was active on it, it'd be dead. So all that. Thanks to everybody, man. Tons of support. A lot of people supported both Astro and my art. Astro Charlie has some really cool stuff, man. If you ever get a chance to check him out, he's got like nugs and epoxy and gold and all kinds of stuff. He has some really cool artwork. Obviously the dab mats. You've seen us all shouting out all the time. I do these little epoxy tricks. So this would be an example of my blotter art. This is a keychain blotter that I made in epoxy. This is also a keychain blotter that I made, but I have like full sheets that are in what do you call it, like frames and stuff like that. And then I do hand painted pendants, feather rake style with acrylic, and then I enamel over those. And those are pendants. I'm obviously not wearing one of those. Shout out to Shay, Paint Splatter Arts. She came through, hooked us up with some goodies. The little pendant swap with her. Again, I don't have hers on, but Becca was wearing hers all day.
Yeah, I like her paintings, man.
She does like a pour style into her pendant, similar to mine. Mine's more of a feather rake, and hers is a pour style, which is really cool. And she's been using a different. I'm not gonna give away her secrets, but a different hardening than epoxy. Similar to that, yeah, that'd be a pour style. Is that from Paint Splatter right there?
Yeah, that's hers. Yep,
Awesome. That'd be
Shout out to
Shay's
Shay.
art there. Shout out to Shay. Incredibly cool, man. She came by, hung out with us for a little while. Hooked stuff, man. She hooked me up with some syringes, some spores, which is really cool. I'm gonna get back into cultivating some mushies and stuff. So that was really cool. That was Saturday. Today, a little bit slower of a crowd. Again, it was bright this morning, like it woke us up. It went from like 40 degrees. We slept in the truck. So 40 degrees in the truck to like 80 degrees within like 10 minutes. It was crazy. As soon as the sun came up, it was like, oh, get the fuck out of this thing, you know? And get all the products out of it too, right? So so we get out of the truck and we get moving and stuff. Astro shows up at a reasonable time, obviously. And we had a great day today too, man. Ran into, was it Stoner Dave, I believe. Stoner Dave, he's a he does work with Irie Genetics. He does work with 2020, Mendocino, a whole bunch of people that we've been around on here. I'm pretty sure Stoner Dave's been in our chat and around our group many times. Anyway, he hooked me up with something that he bred, 10PK, which is Reefer Madness. I think that's his line, which has this Stoner Bubba, and he had me smell some
Dave's
stuff.
not here.
He had me smell. Well, Dave's not here is a different Dave's not here, according to Stoner Dave. I guess he's a different Erie.
There's two of them.
Dave's not here would be the other Erie rep, and then so Stoner Dave is the one that I got a chance to run into. I'd say a bearded fella, but that could also describe Dave's not here, so I don't know. All right. So I also went because he was super cool, and I went and sourced myself a couple of packs of Erie Genetics. Long time await on the Morning Dew.
Morning Dew.
Yeah, I sat out too long on that one and Lady Marmalade. I
Oh,
said,
yeah.
you know what, man? 2 songs by my favorite 2 bands, man. Lady Marmalade, or no, I'm sorry, man.
What?
It's Lady Madonna. Lady Madonna is
No, wait,
Beatles.
Lady,
I was
Lady
high when I
Marmalade.
bought these.
Get on, Painted Lady.
But I already
But,
bought the seeds, man.
They just rename a bunch of
Right.
Fino, right?
Yeah. I'll call it Lady Madonna. I'll call it Lady
Woo.
Madonna for $8. So Lady Marmalade.
Lady
But the other
Marmalade's a good
was
song too.
Morning Dew. Morning Dew is a Grateful Dead song. What is Lady Marmalade? Who does that
They,
one?
the latest remake was like Christina
It was
Aguilera.
Patti LaBelle.
Sounds terrible.
Yep.
The latest
Song's
remake is pretty
terrible.
good, like Christina.
The original
Actually,
was
Hopefully
that.
the lead's better than
Martin
the
knows
song.
that.
I like
It's a good
Christina
song.
Aguilera.
I liked
It is a good song. I agree. That's a
Pretty
great
good.
song.
Christina
Music
Aguilera
video
does
is
Candyman,
was
which is
it?
awesome.
Voulez-vous, whatever the fuck.
Voulez-vous
French.
coucher
Hey, I can't
avec
believe I
moi?
had like 3 years of
Voulez-vous
French.
coucher avec moi?
I applaud the attempt.
Yeah.
Ce soir.
That's
Clip
fun.
it.
Oh yeah, that was close. Close, I'd say. What was that? That's burlesque. There you go.
Yeah.
Let's see here. So I got those, did some swaps. Let's see here. The Nitty Gritty, man. It was a good crowd, a decent turnout. I don't know if there were more vendors than patrons or not. Wow.
Astro Charlie says tons of friendly faces all around.
Tons of friendly faces. I don't get too deep on the nitty gritty. We did well for what we have, being a craft, small batch service. You know what I mean? We did well. We probably sold 80% of the stock that we went with. That's like everything all around. Probably more like 90% of the flour and like 50% of some other stuff that kind of balanced out, right? Was able to get access to a ton of patients with RSO, which is amazing. And I find, regardless of what kind of crowd or what kind of practices occur at any kind of these events, it's all purely safe access. There are people of all walks of, let's call it, entrepreneurship at these places. Everything from those carrying a wee personal stash like we may be carrying in there to help out patients at small scale, to everything that somebody might be helping out someone at a little bit larger scale. I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty of those numbers or
We
anything
need
like
to
that.
talk about the upper part of that scale. We'll
Do
just
not,
say the
do not,
scale.
but let's just
All
say,
right, well, I will, dude, because
Please
you're
do,
talking
yeah.
about having jars on your table in which you're worried about like the humidity getting too high and stuff, right? And I'm looking at videos of tables of just giant turkey bags open all weekend long. And I
you ever
see
hear
this
of pack
event
football?
after event after event, and it drives me insane.
I was watching
Okay.
Pac football.
Yeah,
Pac football get
thing.
played.
These
They were
turkeys
throwing
like ozone.
packs. I mean, I'm not, to each their own, but I'm just watching trichomes getting blown apart. I mean, these are like $400 pounds. It is what it is at that rate. But like, I mean, you throw them around, you play kickball with them, whatever you want to do with them at that price. You paid for it, right? Do what you want. It's fun. But yeah, open sacks, definitely. Now the one in Luzerne was the most incredible because it was dusty, it was sandy, it was on a sand.
Right.
No, dude, the rain and the fucking wind,
the rain,
and the
sand,
fucking
and snow,
dirt.
man. It was a Grateful Dead song at that place, and you would have people shatter laying open, and you'd walk by, and there's just sand all in their shatter, dude. And you'd have, like, you see someone pick up a turkey
is
bag.
that
And
THCA in there? Is it diamond?
Is that keef in the bottom, or is that real sand? I think that's actually sand in the bottom of the bag. Again, this what was a pound is now a pound and a half. And let's $400 for a pound and a half.
Exactly.
That is amazing.
So to each their own, man. There's plenty of bread, loaves of bread on the bread shelf. There's plenty of room for everybody. The people that were walking in with duffel bags, I don't expect them to stop by my table. In fact,
you don't got 30 pounds to sell me, right?
I didn't have 30 pounds, but I'll
I
tell
get
you
that
what,
shit
man.
twisted.
I'll tell you what, that's okay, because there were plenty of people that did stop by the booth, and those that engaged in conversation with us were more than happy to support our cause. And they weren't there to purchase bulk quantities, so it worked out perfect. And those that even were there to purchase bulk quantities knew what they were there for, and they would purchase the bulk quantities for the access for wherever they were going, and they would also purchase, you could tell, personal stash for themselves, because we did actually have people come to us say, man, I went and just picked up whatever quantity of cannabis for whatever price, and they still came back to our booth and spent a load of
that's donation the head stash red. That's
for
their
us.
shit.
Exactly, 100%. And that speaks volumes more than anything else. Feel free to walk in with a giant duffel bag, pass right back by our table, because I really don't expect you to stop. I don't have turkey bags. I'm not playing Pac football.
Well, and here's the thing: if you do stop by with that duffel bag and you really want to fill it up at my booth, I'm done for the weekend. So what's the point?
You got to get there the first half of the day. You're not going to be there.
And I'm honest, man. People are asking about my weights and stuff. And if you come to see me for small batch in my area, I'm happy to help. But if you're looking for 10 plus unit, if you're looking for any more than what I can comfortably, legally fit in my person, not going to happen. I still have to supply all my patients.
I'll save you.
I still have to supply all my patients, man. Yeah, that's for me. That's for my personals, my patients. I'm happy to consult for other patients and all of that stuff, and however the access works itself out. You know what I mean? I'm happy to play whatever line. Ride the line.
It's good to see that the community is coming back together, and we're kicking off the start of the year. We got some more things coming up real soon to look forward to as well. So.
I think the next one that a large portion of our community will be attending will be Gems and Genetics.
There we go. Where is that and when?
It is in Morley, Michigan, about 30 minutes north of Grand Rapids. It is on May 14th and May 15th from 12 p.m. noon until 9 p.m.
Oh, I thought this was going to be Saturday, like a late night all-nighter.
No, this is not a Sapo sesh. I am too old for that shit.
Dude, we tried pulling the late nights, man. It was raining last night, and we were like, we were like, hey, you want to get out and go see if there's anything live going on while it's raining, And we're like, well, let's wait for the rain to stop. The rain would stop and be like, all right, let's finish this joint. And then it would start raining again. And we're like, well, fuck, 4 hours later.
April in Michigan, baby.
Yeah. Hey, finally, we got to pee, So we get out of the truck, we go to pee, we get a fucking soggy hot dog, it's like 2 in the midnight. We get back to the truck.
They get pills for that now, Red.
Did you know it stopped raining? It stopped raining. Soggy hot dog. Then it stops raining once we get in the truck, man. It was a great time. It really was. It was excellent seeing everybody. I want to thank everybody who did come by, support us, Astro Charlie, and everything. Please come back. Astro, myself, we're going to split another booth at Gems and Genetics, and hope to see everybody else coming along. If anybody else who's getting a booth, we're all going to try to collaborate, and that's all shoved together closely.
Good vibes.
Nice to see all of you come on out. I don't want to take up too much more of this platform or the airtime because we don't have 2 minutes
Potential left. Smoke sesh after or before.
It's a camp out, you guys. It is a camp out.
I want to thank Holt for joining us tonight. Thank you so much for all the knowledge
Sure.
and
Thank you.
for talking about Bloom Yellow bottles. So, you can back me up in what I've been talking about. And Porch Farmer, I hope you really enjoy them as much as I do. So thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it, guys. I love your show. So I'm gonna sign off. I know you got a few more minutes left, but thank you again.
Thanks
Yeah,
so
I'm
much.
absolutely
Thanks for
excited
having me.
to give these bottles a try.
All right. See you guys.
See ya.